On September 10, 2025, the United States was rocked by the shocking assassination of conservative activist and media personality Charlie Kirk, an event that sent ripples of fear, anger, and confusion across the nation. Kirk, only 31 years old, was speaking at Utah Valley University in Orem, Utah, as part of his American Comeback Tour, a nationwide campus speaking series aimed at engaging young conservatives and challenging progressive ideas. Known for his sharp debating style, outspoken political commentary, and role as the founder of Turning Point USA, Kirk had long been a polarizing figure in American politics. His sudden and violent death raised urgent questions about the state of political discourse in the United States, the rising threat of targeted violence, and the consequences of deepening polarization. The assassination took place during what was supposed to be a routine campus speaking engagement. According to authorities, Kirk had just begun addressing a large audience when a single gunshot rang out from a distant rooftop. The bullet struck him in the neck, and despite immediate emergency medical efforts, he was pronounced dead shortly afterward. Witnesses described scenes of panic and chaos as students and attendees ducked for cover, unsure if more shots would follow. Law enforcement quickly locked down the area and launched a massive manhunt. The FBI, local police, and federal marshals joined forces to search for the suspect, who had fled the scene. Investigators later recovered the suspected sniper rifle and released surveillance images of a person of interest. But as of now, no arrests have been made and the motive remains unclear. Kirk's death has triggered an outpouring of grief from his supporters and condemnation of political violence from across the political spectrum. Utah's Governor Spencer Cox called it a political assassination, emphasizing the danger that violent extremism poses to democracy regardless of ideology. Prominent figures from both major parties, including President Biden and several Republican leaders, expressed condolences to Kirk's family and urged Americans to reject political hatred. Yet his killing has also reignited debates about the tone of political discourse in the United States. Many have pointed out that Kirk's own rhetoric, often combative and provocative, made him a lightning rod for criticism. Supporters argue he was targeted simply for his conservative beliefs, while critics caution that the overall escalation of hostile rhetoric on all sides has created an environment where political violence is becoming increasingly thinkable. The assassination marks a grim turning point, highlighting how deeply polarized American society has become and how fragile the boundaries of civil political engagement now appear. It underscores the growing fear that political disagreements are no longer being fought solely in the realm of ideas, but are spilling into deadly acts of violence. Kirk's death is not just the loss of a prominent activist, it is a warning sign. It forces the nation to confront hard questions about how to protect public figures without stifling open debate, and how to heal a political culture that seems increasingly defined by enmity rather than dialogue. Early life and family background. Charles James Kirk was born on October 14, 1993, in Arlington Heights, Illinois, United States. He grew up in the suburbs of Chicago, specifically in Prospect Heights, Illinois, where he would develop the foundational experiences that would shape his future career in conservative politics and activism. Kirk came from a middle-class family with diverse professional backgrounds. His father worked as an architect, bringing a practical, design-oriented perspective to the household. His mother had a multifaceted career trajectory. She initially worked as a trader at the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, one of the world's largest derivatives marketplaces, before transitioning into a career as a mental health counselor. This combination of financial markets experience and human services work likely exposed young Charlie to both the economic realities of American capitalism and the social challenges facing communities. During his formative years, Kirk was actively involved in extracurricular activities that would later prove formative to his character and leadership development. Most notably, he participated in the Boy Scouts of America, where he demonstrated exceptional commitment and leadership skills by achieving the rank of Eagle Scout, the organization's highest achievement. This accomplishment, earned by only about 4% of Boy Scouts, requires demonstrating leadership, community service, and mastery of outdoor skills. The Eagle Scout experience would later inform Kirk's approach to youth organizing and his emphasis on traditional American values. Education and early political awakening. Kirk attended Wheeling High School in Illinois, where his interest in political issues first began to crystallize. Unlike many of his peers who might have focused solely on academics or social activities, Kirk displayed an early fascination with the political process and ideological debates that would define his future career. A pivotal moment in his political development occurred in 2010, while he was still in high school. At just 16 or 17 years old, Kirk volunteered for the U.S. Senate campaign of Illinois Republican Mark Kirk, no relation, gaining first-hand experience in electoral politics. This early exposure to campaign operations, voter outreach, and political messaging provided him with practical skills that would prove invaluable in his later career. During this period, he also became increasingly involved in conservative activism, beginning to develop the network of relationships and ideological framework that would support his future endeavors. After graduating from high school, Kirk briefly enrolled at Harper College, a community college located near Chicago. However, his academic pursuits were short-lived. Kirk made the decision to drop out of college without completing a degree, a choice that would later become both a point of criticism from his detractors and a badge of honor among supporters who viewed it as evidence of his entrepreneurial spirit and rejection of traditional educational gatekeeping. This decision to forego higher education was unusual for someone who would later become deeply involved in campus politics, but it reflected Kirk's belief that real-world experience and entrepreneurial initiative were more valuable than formal credentials. This perspective would later inform his critiques of higher education and his arguments about the value of alternative pathways to success. Founding Turning Point USA and early organizational development in 2012, at the remarkably young age of 18, Charlie Kirk co-founded Turning Point USA's TPU-SAIF, an organization that would become one of the most significant conservative youth movements in the United States. The organization was conceived with a clear and ambitious mission to promote conservative values on college campuses and challenge what Kirk and his co-founders viewed as pervasive liberal or progressive bias in higher education institutions. The founding of TPUSA represented Kirk's recognition of what he saw as a critical gap in conservative political organizing. While liberal and progressive organizations had long maintained active presences on college campuses, Kirk believed that conservative students lacked adequate institutional support and organizing infrastructure. TPUSA was designed to fill this void by providing conservative students with resources, training. In its early years, TPUSA focused on several key activities designed to promote conservative ideas and challenge liberal orthodoxy on campuses. One of the organization's signature programs involved sponsoring public debates between liberal and conservative students, creating forums for ideological dialogue that Kirk believed were otherwise lacking on university campuses. These debates served multiple purposes. They provided platforms for conservative viewpoints, generated media attention, and helped identify and develop conservative student leaders. TPUSA also focused heavily on establishing campus chapters across the country. This grassroots organizing approach allowed the organization to build a decentralized network of student activists who could adapt TPUSA's broader message to their specific campus contexts. Each chapter served as a hub for conservative organizing, event planning, and student recruitment. Media recognition and early career development. Kirk's talent for media engagement became apparent early in his career. One of his first major media appearances resulted from an opinion piece he wrote for Breitbart News, in which he alleged liberal bias in high school economics textbooks. This article demonstrated Kirk's ability to identify cultural and educational issues that resonated with conservative audiences while also showcasing his willingness to challenge established institutions. The Breitbart piece led to an appearance on Fox Business, marking Kirk's entry into the broader conservative media ecosystem. This early media exposure was crucial to his career development, as it demonstrated his ability to articulate conservative positions in a compelling and accessible manner. It also established him as a credible voice within conservative circles, despite his young age and lack of formal educational credentials. During this period, Kirk also benefited from mentorship and encouragement from established conservative activists. He met Bill Montgomery, a Tea Party-backed legislative candidate, at a Youth Empowerment Day event. Montgomery recognized Kirk's potential and encouraged his continued involvement in activism, providing the kind of institutional support that would prove crucial to his later success. Expansion of influence and media empire. Over the years following TPUSA's founding, Kirk systematically expanded his influence through multiple media channels and platforms. Recognizing that political success in the 21st century required mastery of various communication mediums, he developed a multimedia approach that included books, podcasts, live speaking tours, social media campaigns, and radio programs. Literary contributions. Kirk authored several books that articulated his conservative philosophy and political strategy. Time for a Turning Point, Setting a Course Toward Free Markets and Limited Government for Future Generations, a 2016. This debut book outlined Kirk's fundamental economic and political philosophy, emphasizing free market capitalism and limited government as essential principles for American prosperity and freedom. Campus Battlefield, How Conservatives Can Win the Battle on Campus and Why It Matters. See 2018. Drawing from his extensive experience in campus organizing, this book provided strategic guidance for conservative students and activists, outlining tactics for effective political engagement in hostile academic environments. The Makia Doctrine, The Only Ideas That Will Win the Future, 2020, published during Donald Trump's presidency. This book explicitly aligned Kirk with the Trump movement and argued that Trump's approach to politics represented the future of conservative success. The College Scam, How America's Universities Are Bankrupting and Brainwashing Away the Future of America's Youth, 2022. This book represented Kirk's most comprehensive critique of higher education, arguing that American universities had become financially exploitative and ideologically corrupting institutions. Right-Wing Revolution: How to Beat the Woke and Save the West. 2024, his final book focused on what he characterized as cultural warfare against progressive ideology, providing tactical guidance for conservative activists and politicians. Organizational growth and political influence. Under Kirk's leadership, Turning Point USA evolved from a small startup organization into a major force in conservative youth politics. The organization developed sophisticated fundraising capabilities, established chapters on hundreds of college campuses, and became a significant player in broader conservative political strategy. TPUSA's growth reflected several key organizational strengths that Kirk developed and maintained throughout his career. First, the organization excelled at identifying and developing young conservative talent, providing training and resources that helped students become effective activists and future leaders. Second, TPUSA mastered the art of generating media attention through provocative events, controversial speakers, and strategic confrontations with liberal opposition. Third, the organization built strong relationships with major conservative donors and established political figures, ensuring adequate funding and institutional support. Kirk also founded Turning Point Action, a related organization focused more explicitly on electoral politics and campaign activities. This expansion reflected his recognition that cultural and educational activism needed to be complemented by direct political engagement to achieve meaningful policy outcomes. Religious and personal development. Kirk's religious and personal development represented an important aspect of his public persona and political evolution. While his early political career was characterized by relatively secular messaging focused on economic and political issues, he gradually incorporated more explicitly religious themes into his activism. Kirk became an evangelical Christian and was associated with the Calvary Chapel Association in his later years. This religious commitment influenced his political positions and messaging, particularly regarding social and cultural issues. His embrace of evangelical Christianity also connected him to an important constituency within the conservative movement and provided him with additional platforms for his political message. Over time, Kirk's positioning included Christian nationalist themes, reflecting his belief that Christianity should play a central role in American public life and political discourse. This evolution aligned him with broader trends within the conservative movement, while also generating controversy among critics who viewed Christian nationalism as incompatible with religious freedom and pluralistic democracy. Personal life and family. Kirk's personal life provided him with stability and grounding throughout his intense public career. In May 2021, he married Erica Francevay, who would become Erica Kirk following their marriage. Erica brought her own impressive background to their relationship. She was a former Miss Arizona USA 2012, a collegiate basketball player, a businesswoman, and a podcaster actively involved in nonprofit and faith-based initiatives. The couple's shared commitment to conservative politics and Christian faith created a strong foundation for their marriage and family life. Their partnership extended beyond the personal realm into professional collaboration, with Erica supporting and participating in various TPUSA and related activities. Charlie and Erica had 2 children together, a daughter born in August 2022 and a son born in May 2024. Kirk often spoke about how fatherhood had deepened his commitment to conservative political causes, arguing that his activism was motivated by his desire to preserve American freedoms and values for future generations. Political positions and ideological framework. Kirk's political positions represented a comprehensive conservative worldview that evolved and adapted to changing political circumstances while maintaining core principles. His ideology could be characterized as encompassing several key elements. Economic conservatism. Kirk was a strong advocate for free market capitalism, limited government regulation, and fiscal responsibility. He consistently argued that free markets were the most effective mechanism for generating prosperity and that government intervention in the economy typically produced negative consequences. Constitutional originalism. He advocated for strict interpretation of the U.S. Constitution and believed that judges should interpret the law based on the original intent of the framers rather than adapting constitutional principles to contemporary circumstances. Second Amendment rights. Kirk was a passionate defender of gun rights, arguing that the Second Amendment provided an essential check on government tyranny while also enabling individual self-defense. Opposition to progressive social policies. He consistently opposed what he characterized as woke ideology, including diversity, equity, and inclusion (DEI) programs, comprehensive LGBTQ+ rights initiatives, and various forms of identity politics. America First foreign policy. Following his alignment with the Trump movement, Kirk advocated for a more nationalist approach to foreign policy that prioritized American interests over international commitments, controversies, and public criticism. Throughout his career, Kirk was involved in numerous controversies that reflected the polarized nature of contemporary American politics. Critics frequently accused him of spreading misinformation on various topics, including the 2020 election, COVID-19 policies, and climate change. These accusations generated significant media coverage and legal challenges, though Kirk consistently defended his positions as legitimate political discourse rather than deliberate misinformation. One of the most controversial initiatives Kirk launched was the Professor Watch List, a project designed to identify and publicize the names of university professors whom TPUSA considered to be promoting liberal bias in their classrooms. Critics argued that this initiative represented an attack on academic freedom and could potentially endanger the safety of targeted professors. Supporters countered that it was a legitimate form of accountability for publicly funded educators. Kirk's rhetoric and political positions made him a polarizing figure in American politics. Conservative media outlets and politicians frequently praised him as an effective advocate for traditional American values and an important voice for conservative youth. Progressive critics, however, characterized him as a purveyor of extreme rhetoric and divisive politics who contributed to increased political polarization. Media and communication strategy. Kirk's success was largely attributable to his sophisticated understanding of modern media and communication strategies. He recognized early in his career that political influence in the 21st century required mastery of multiple platforms and communication mediums. Social media mastery. Kirk built massive followings across multiple social media platforms, using these channels to disseminate political content, engage with supporters, and respond to critics. His social media strategy emphasized frequent posting, provocative content, and direct engagement with current political controversies. Podcast and radio programming. The Charlie Kirk Show became a significant platform within conservative media, providing Kirk with a regular forum for extended political commentary and guest interviews. The show allowed him to develop deeper relationships with his audience while also providing a revenue stream that supported his broader political activities. Live events and speaking tours. Kirk maintained an intensive schedule of live speaking events, campus visits, and political rallies. These events served multiple purposes. They generated media coverage, allowed for direct fundraising, provided opportunities for activist recruitment, and demonstrated the extent of conservative youth engagement. Role in recent politics and electoral influence. In 2024, Kirk played a significant role in Republican political strategy, particularly regarding youth outreach and voter mobilization. TPUSA was recognized as making important contributions to Donald Trump's campaign efforts, especially in engaging young conservative voters who might not otherwise participate in electoral politics. Kirk's organizations developed sophisticated voter registration and turnout operations that specifically targeted conservative students and young professionals. These efforts were credited with helping to increase Republican performance among younger demographics, a group that had traditionally leaned Democratic. His influence extended beyond direct electoral activities into broader conservative movement politics. Kirk served as an important bridge between establishment Republican politics and more populist, Trump-aligned factions within the conservative movement. This positioning allowed him to maintain relationships across different conservative constituencies while advancing his own political agenda. Tragic death and national impact. On the 10th of September 2025, Charlie Kirk's life and career were cut short when he was shot and killed during a speaking event at Utah Valley University in Orem, Utah. The tragic incident occurred as part of Kirk's American Comeback Tour. During what was described as a Prove Me Wrong format event, a signature TPUSA program that invited audience members to challenge Kirk's political positions through open dialogue and debate. According to initial reports, Kirk was struck by a bullet in the neck during the event. The shooting was characterized by authorities as a targeted attack, with the suspected shooter believed to have fired from a nearby roof. A bolt-action rifle believed to have been used in the shooting was later found in nearby woods, along with 3 unfired rounds of ammunition that were reportedly engraved. The suspected shooter remained at large immediately following the incident, prompting an intensive manhunt involving federal, state, and local law enforcement agencies. Authorities described the suspect as believed to be college-aged, though specific details about the individual's identity and motivation were not immediately available. National response and political implications. Kirk's assassination generated immediate and widespread reactions across the American political spectrum. President Donald Trump ordered that flags be flown at half-staff at the White House and all federal buildings until sunset on the 14th of September 2025, demonstrating the significance of Kirk's role within conservative politics and Trump's personal regard for the young activist. The tragic event sparked renewed debates about political violence in American society, with commentators from across the political spectrum expressing concern about the escalation of political tensions into physical violence. Many observers noted that Kirk's death represented a concerning escalation in the targeting of political figures and activists. The incident was characterized as the latest example of political violence in the United States, occurring within a broader context of increased threats and attacks against political figures from both major political parties. This context amplified concerns about the health of American democratic discourse and the safety of political activists and elected officials. Posthumous recognition and legacy. In recognition of Kirk's contributions to conservative politics and American public discourse, President Trump announced that Kirk would be awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom posthumously. This honor, the highest civilian award in the United States, reflected Kirk's significant impact on American politics despite his young age at the time of his death. The posthumous award generated both support and controversy, reflecting the polarized nature of Kirk's career and the ongoing debates about his political positions and methods. Supporters viewed the recognition as appropriate acknowledgement of Kirk's dedication to conservative principles and his success in mobilizing young Americans around political engagement. Critics argued that the award legitimized what they considered divisive political rhetoric and controversial activism. Assessment of impact and influence. Charlie Kirk's life and career represented a unique phenomenon in American politics, a young activist who built significant national influence without traditional credentials or institutional backing. His success demonstrated both the opportunities and challenges of modern political communication, particularly the potential for social media and alternative media platforms to amplify individual voices and build political movements. Kirk's impact on conservative politics was multifaceted and significant. Through Turning Point USA, he created institutional infrastructure that will likely continue influencing conservative politics for years to come. His books, media appearances, and speaking events reached millions of Americans and helped shape conservative political discourse on numerous issues. His success in engaging young conservatives provided a model for political organizing that has been emulated by numerous other activists and organizations. At the same time, Kirk's career highlighted ongoing tensions within American political discourse about the appropriate boundaries of political rhetoric, the role of provocative messaging in political communication, and the responsibilities of political activists and organizations. His critics argued that his approach contributed to increased political polarization and made constructive political dialogue more difficult. A complex legacy. Charlie Kirk's life ended tragically and prematurely, but his impact on American conservative politics was already substantial and enduring. From his early days as a high school volunteer to his emergence as one of the most recognizable conservative activists in the country, Kirk demonstrated remarkable political instincts, communication skills, and organizational ability. His story reflects broader trends in American politics, including the increasing importance of grassroots organizing, the power of alternative media platforms, the political mobilization of younger Americans, and the ongoing cultural and ideological conflicts that define contemporary political discourse. Kirk's success in building a national political organization while still in his 20s illustrated both the opportunities available to ambitious political entrepreneurs and the challenges of maintaining such organizations in a highly polarized political environment. Kirk's assassination at age 31 represents not only a personal tragedy for his family and supporters, but also a significant loss for American political discourse. Regardless of one's agreement or disagreement with his political positions, Kirk's death removed a significant voice from American politics and demonstrated the dangerous escalation of political tensions into violence. His legacy will likely be debated for years to come, with supporters remembering him as a principled conservative who successfully challenged liberal orthodoxy and mobilized young Americans around traditional values, while critics will continue to argue that his approach contributed to political division and extremism. What seems beyond debate is that Charlie Kirk succeeded in making himself a significant figure in American politics, and that his influence on conservative youth organizing and political discourse will continue long after his death. The story of Charlie Kirk's life, from suburban Chicago teenager to national political figure, represents both an individual success story and a broader commentary on the nature of political influence and activism in 21st century America. His tragic death serves as a stark reminder of the human costs of political polarization and the importance of protecting democratic discourse from violence and intimidation. As investigations continue into his assassination and as his organizations work to continue his mission, Charlie Kirk's life and death will likely serve as important reference points in ongoing debates about American politics, youth engagement, conservative ideology, and the boundaries of acceptable political discourse in a democratic society.